Hey everybody, it's your book bud Joe here, and today I would like to talk about Italia. Mwah! Buonissimo. I just got back from my trip to Italy, and it was fantastico. I absolutely adored visiting that country. I love it there. I'd like to move there. Can I move there, please? It was just, it was magical. It really was. Oh, I absolutely loved it. I want to go back. It's so important for me to return to my roots. My my grandfathers were born in Italy, and they came over with their families, Ellis Island, the whole thing, settled in New York, the Bronx, and made a life for themselves over here. But for me, I just really feel connected to the Italian culture, the Italian food, Italian language, that it was really important for me to see where my people are from. So every time I go there, I just feel very comfortable and connected, and there's just nothing like it. Started at the Italian Riviera, Santa Margherita and Portofino. Now, Portofino is where all the celebrities go. And so it's very high end. So we didn't stay there. We stayed next door, Santa Margherita. You can walk from Santa Margherita to Portofino and back and forth. And so that was just like a nice town on the water, right? Italian Riviera. It's on the water. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So what's famous in these parts is the Cinque Terre. I think I'm saying that right. Five lands. So it's similar to the Amalfi Coast, not as famous and maybe not as beautiful, but a close second. It was really fun to visit those places. Again, right on the water, and built into the mountainside. So much character. Loved it. So much great food. The view was just fantastic. It was so nice. From there, I went to Florence and had a good time walking around. Saw the Duomo. Ate in all the nice restaurants, great bakeries. Saw the Statue of David, which was really thrilling, really very cool. To just see it in person after all these years of seeing it in the movies, on TV, in books. I was standing right in front of the Statue of David, and that was one of the highlights for me, and I didn't even expect it. I didn't know that it was going to be so impactful until I stepped into that room and saw him in the distance, and then walked closer and just sat and took it in for a while. Oh, so cool. It was blazing hot. It was like 101 one day. Unrelenting sunshine, no clouds. It was just so hot. Whew, it's hot over there. Then rented a car and went to Tuscany, like the countryside, wine country, the vineyards. We went to a winery and had a wine tasting, and it was like what you see in the movies, those big, tall, skinny trees, the acres and acres and acres of land, and all the grape vineyards and all the olive trees. Just beautiful, simply beautiful, breathtaking, and peaceful. So peaceful. I've been to Rome, I've been to Florence, these busier cities, but being in the countryside in Italy, that was really special. Very different. Loved it. I want to explore more of Tuscany. Oh, and the food, guys, the food. The food was just fantastic. I'll put in some pictures for you guys to see. I'll put some pictures into this video. Um, mm, oh, the food, just so fresh, so natural. Nothing like what we have here in the United States. Everything's processed and, preserved, and most of the things there are fresh from the ground, from the earth, and from the sea, from the farmland. So you definitely taste the difference. You definitely taste the difference. Okay, explored Tuscany for a few days, and then went to Venice. Oh, and we also stopped at Pisa, which was really cool as well. Similar feeling to when I saw the Statue of David, because again, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, that image is just so famous, and like to walk up to it, and again, I think it's so cool to like to see these things in the distance, and it's just like wow, and then you like gradually get there because there's a lot of walking in Italy, um, and that is surely leaning. That building is really leaning. Very cool experience. I loved Pisa. Venice. Ooh, Venice was Venice was it was very magical. It was very different from any other city that I've visited in all of my travels, not just in Italy. Just a city built on the water is just crazy. The tiny little alleyways and the canals and the bridges, so many gondolas all over the place, like a whole train of them everywhere you go. Uh, their public transportation is a ferry, many ferries, lots of different lines in and out. And when the hotels is like, oh, I'll call you a taxi, it's like a private little boat. That's how they get around. No cars. There's no cars in Venice. The train brings you right there, and then you're on the water. Now, Venice to me was a little, well, at night it was a little creepy because it's very confusing. People say New York City is confusing. It's not confusing. New York City is a grid. It makes sense. Well, maybe not lower Manhattan. That's a little crazy, but everything else, it's lines. Like it makes total sense. Venice? No. No. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's very easy to get lost. I was trying to use my phone, GPS was not working, did not have a signal. Um, you're walking, and then you come upon a dead end. And at night, it's just a little freaky because you got the water there, you got these dark, narrow streets. I don't know. It just kind of freaked me out a little bit. But once I got my bearings, it was, I guess, a little bit easier once you like know the lay of the land and like which direction like the Grand Canal is, and then the water, and then like you just keep that on your right, and then like you're fine. Very cool experience. Very different. Yeah, it was definitely memorable. Definitely. So I got a book or two in Italy, which I was not expecting. Saw a bookstore, stopped in the bookstore, of course. They had the English section and they had the Italian section. So when I was in the English section, I found this cool series. Okay, we got Marco Vici, the author. All right, so this is a Inspector Bordelli is the name of the guy, and I guess this is his series. He's the inspector. Um, he is a policeman in Florence, and this book is set in Florence in 1963. So I'm into thrillers this summer, as I am every summer. So when I saw it, it really piqued my interest. I'm like, this would be fun to read an Italian author, an Italian series. It's set in Italy. Not only is it set in Italy, but it's set in Florence in the 60s. So I like that it's a little bit older. We're going to get like an older feel, a little bit of a nostalgia. Not that I know anything about life in Italy in the 60s, but that's the point. Like, I want to know what it was like. So this is a your typical cop series in set in Italy. How cool is that, right? Picture it. Florence, summer 1963. Does anybody get that reference when I say picture it? Let's see. Tell me in the comments. Inspector Bordelli is one of the few policemen left in a deserted city. He spends his days on routine work and his nights tormented by the heat and mosquitoes. Suddenly, one night, a telephone call gives him a new sense of purpose. The suspected death of a wealthy signora, Bordelli rushes to her hilltop villa and picks the locks. The old woman is lying on her bed, apparently killed by an asthma attack, though her medicine has been left untouched. With the help of his young protege, the victim's eccentric brother, and a semi retired petty thief, the inspector begins a murder investigation. Each suspect has a solid alibi, but there is something that doesn't quite add up. So, I don't know, I'm just excited. Death in August, the first Inspector Bordelli mystery, Marco Vici. Next book I have is Home to Italy, Peter Pezzelli. Okay, so this book sounds really sweet. I'm going to read the back to you. In this delightful and moving novel, Peter Pezzelli brings to life the earthy sensuality of Italy's Abruzzo region, the smell of just baked bread wafting through the village piazza, the shopkeepers sweeping the sidewalks first thing in the morning, groups of cyclists dotting the mountain roads, and spins a story of May to December romance as sharp and delicious as the olives of Villa San Giuseppe. Sometimes you have to travel far to find your way home. After the death of his beloved wife, Anna, Pepe's family. Okay, when I was leafing through this book, the amount of names in here, they're like Pepe, Anna, Maria, Luca, Giuseppe, Claudio. I mean, there's just so many awesome Italian names. After the death of his beloved wife Anna, Pepe's family and friends expect him to bury his grief by tending to his gardens and taking long rides on his bike. Instead, Pepe shocks them all with his decision to leave Rhode Island and return to Villa San Giuseppe, the small Italian village where he spends his childhood, and to Il Mulino, his family's old mill. But once he's back, he temporarily moves into an apartment over the candy factory run by his childhood best friend Luca. It is modest but livable, with a lovely view of Luca's neglected gardens and his equally neglected daughter, the fiery Lucrezia. Okay, and we go on and on. Now, under the Italian sun, a tentative romance begins to bloom between the grieving pair, yielding to a surprisingly strong passion with the power to heal life's wounds and promise second chances. Sounds a little hallmarky, a little corny maybe, but I mean, just look at the cover. Like, that looks exactly like where I was in Tuscany. That's exactly how it looked. Oh, so beautiful. So I definitely want to get to this. Okay, and then while I was there, I read Under the Tuscan Sun. I'll put a picture here. Um, and that was really great because I read that while I was in Tuscany, and it was all about a woman who relocated to Tuscany, bought a villa that needed a lot of repairs, and she just immersed herself in Italian life. She mentioned a lot of the towns that I was visiting, a lot of the towns that were nearby while I was visiting in Tuscany. So that was like really exciting to read that while I was there. She talked a lot about the local food, um, or how she got used to living in a different country. It was very interesting. It gave me a lot of ideas about relocating. Um, wasn't the most exciting book. It was probably a little bit more enjoyable that I was actually there. I think if I read that at home, I would have been a little bit bored towards the end, but it was definitely a fun experience to read that while visiting Tuscany. And then I brought this book with me, Experiencing Tuscany. Very good book. Do you guys get travel books before you go abroad? This was so informative, not only about all the different towns that make up Tuscany and what to do there, what not to miss. They give you maps. They really lay everything out for you. At the end, there's a section called Practicalities, and that is all about everything that you need to know while traveling. Bathrooms. You have to pay for bathrooms in Italy, by the way. Public bathrooms, you have to pay to get in there. You have to pay for water in a restaurant. It's all in here, which is very helpful. It talks about tipping. It talks about, exchanging currency. It talks about how to greet Italians, traveling on the bus, traveling on the train. I highly recommend getting a book like this before you travel abroad. What I also do is I watch Rick Steves. Do you guys know Rick Steves? He is that guy on the Travel Channel who goes all over Europe, mostly Italy that I've seen, and he just goes to different towns and goes with the camera crew, walks around, tells you everything you need to know. There's a special focus on food, of course, and he tells you how to pack your suitcase. He gives a lot of knowledgeable information too. He has a series of books as well, and I do have a few. So, I like to do some research before I go. I don't really like to head in blind because you don't really have a lot of time in these places, and you really need to know what you're walking into so that you can take advantage of everything that it has to offer before you have to leave very quickly. So I highly recommend these books. Thanks for letting me tell you about my trip. I absolutely love talking about it. So I appreciate you coming on this journey with me. I hope you like the pictures. I hope you like the books. And I hope that you will plan a trip to Italy in the near future. Everybody needs to see it. It's wonderful. If you're enjoying Book Buds, please like, share, and subscribe. And last but certainly not least, thanks for visiting Book Buds. Thanks for watching Book Buds. And the cinque. And what is famous in these parts is the quinque. Oh, good God, quince? No, queen, no, quin, not quince, cinque. It is modest but livable, and with a lovely view of Luca's Nicola. I feel like I got marbles in my mouth.